One of my favorite things about the Pacific Games as a tournament, it's all the placement matches. So going out in the group stages, not the end of the tournament. Similarly, for these two sides, going out in the semi-final is not the end of the road because they play in this crucial match. And it is still a crucial match because it's got more to it than just being a third, fourth place playoff. One of these sides gets a bronze medal. Hello, welcome to DNQ Football. We are, of course, here today to talk about Fiji versus Vanuatu. If you've been up to speed with DNQ and our predictions for this tournament so far, you'll know that in our semi-final previews, this is what we thought would happen. We thought we'd see Fiji versus Vanuatu here in the third, fourth place because we predicted New Caledonia and Solomon Islands to reach the final. And we'll be recording our preview for the final, the gold final, very soon. But I'm here today to run you through what I think is going to happen in this very crucial bronze final. Both these sides, actually, funnily enough, sort of the same tournament that they've had. They've each won a group game against a very poor side on paper. They've then both drawn a group game against a slightly stronger side, and then they both lost the semi-finals. So very, very similar. Of course, Fiji beat the Northern Mariana Islands 10-0. Drew with the Tahitians and then lost 2-0 to the Solomon Islands in the semi-finals. Papua New Guinea, they won 6-0 against Tuvalu. Couldn't read into that too much because PNG, of course, didn't play Tuvalu. And then they, of course, drew with Papua New Guinea before losing to New Caledonia in the semi-final. So we have this fantastic matchup, a matchup that we didn't get to see at the MSG Prime Minister's Cup in 2023 because Fiji didn't take part in that tournament. Vanuatu, of course, came third in that tournament out of 4, and they have a chance to come third again and get themselves a medal. And I think they've got a decent shout of doing it, actually. I think that if you look at the fact that they conceded 1 to New Caledonia, 1 to PNG, obviously 0 to Tuvalu, they're not in a bad space. My only concern from a Vanuatu perspective is whether or not they pack enough of a punch going forward. 6-0 over Tuvalu. Now, Tuvalu have proved themselves not a bad side when they beat Tonga in one of the placement matches, but still 6-0 is not quite the same as 10-0 that Fiji won against the Northern Mariana Islands. But we have to think about the opponents that were played in that game. I do think that Fiji pack a bit more of a punch in an attacking sense, but they are without Roy Krishna. They have still got, of course, Sairusi Nalabu, Nabil Beg, and a really, really talented side. But this is going to be a really, really even matchup. And I would, early prediction before I get into how I think the game's going to shape up and who I think's what I think the scoreline is going to be. I think this could be the first game in the tournament that's really kind of gone all the way. I think that we could see an extra time and penalty shootout situation if there is extra time. You'll have to let me know in the comments, is there extra time in this tournament? Because I do think these sides, certainly on paper, really, really close. I think that both sides are without their best players on paper. We spoke about that in both the semi-final previews. No Krishna, no Kaltack. You know, that sort of heavy metal matchup between the centre-back and the forward that we would love to see at some point. Potentially, we'll get to see it again at the next round of World Cup qualifiers, maybe. But both sides without some of their strongest players. But we have seen some really good performances at this tournament. Spoke about Godin Tenene. Also think that Azaria Solomon's had a decent tournament from a Vanuatu perspective, certainly in an attacking sense. I'm just looking now at the Fiji lineup that played against the Solomon Islands, and you do still have the likes of Radragai, Hughes. I've mentioned Nalabu and Beg, but you also have Kishan Sami, who's not had too much of an involvement in this tournament, but he's a player I do quite like as well. From a Vanuatu perspective, I've mentioned a couple of them already. Of course, Barry Mansale, a very talented player in his own right. And they also have Mitch Coulon at the back. And John Alec, who we've not spoken about much of this tournament, I've quite liked him from what I've seen of highlights of OFC matches in the individual leagues. And indeed, you know, anything that I've seen from this tournament so far, I think from a Vanuatu perspective, I think they maybe have a slightly stronger squad. I think the key question is whether or not they can do enough going forward. I think that's my main barrier. I think that Vanuatu are defensively a slightly stronger side, but not as good going forward, which is why I think it's going to be a close game. But how do I think it's going to shape up? Well, I think that both these sides will be desperate to get a medal. Of course, Fiji have won gold many times before. That's not going to be the case this time around. But I think that they'll be desperate to get a medal. And I think that Fiji will be desperate to go out there, make up for losing to a side that we could potentially predict in the Solomon Islands to win gold and do as best they can by winning silver. Of course, they played Solomon Islands at the worst time, the semi-final stage, but they do still have a chance here of picking up a medal. From a Vanuatu perspective, not too much to say that we haven't already throughout the tournament. I think that it's all around whether or not they can pack enough of a punch going forward against this defensive Fijian side that has obviously conceded 2 goals to the Solomon Islands. But other than that, clean sheet against Tahiti, clean sheet that we can't really read into against the Northern Mariana Islands as well. So this one will be really close. I'm actually so torn on who I think I'm going to give the edge to and who I'm going to give the bronze medal to in this one. I think, and I did actually prep some of this information before the call, but I'm still just so on edge around who I think is going to win bronze, and so I'm really interested in your comments in the comments section around how you think this one's going to go. For me, I'm actually going to pick a Vanuatu win, which kind of goes against what I've done in previous tournaments. I do like Fiji. I think they're really passionate. I think they're great. Just something's telling me that Vanuatu slightly stronger. I don't know. I think the fact that they didn't lose to Papua New Guinea, who I think are similar-ish in an attacking sense to Fiji, I think that's the kind of closest matchup that I'm going to give at the minute. And in the MSG Cup, they beat Papua New Guinea. So the last 2 games that Vanu have played against PNG is a win and a draw. And I'm going to equate Fiji to just above, but similar to Papua New Guinea's level. I'm going to go 2-1 to Vanuatu in this one, maybe even a 1-0. I think that's the way I'm going to back it. I think the more goals that are in the game, the more likely I'm completely wrong and it's going to be a Fiji win, because I think they've got a bit more going forward. But I'm going to predict Fiji to come 4th in this year's Pacific Games and Vanuatu to pick up the bronze medal with a 2-1 win. Can't wait for the gold final as well. Our preview will be coming to you very soon on that matchup, so don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more as well. And of course, as always, we'll see you next time.